You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Canadian Gothic.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Canadian Gothic series exploring the 2022 disappearance of then 23-year-old mother of two, Emily Bailey. In the prior episodes in this series, we met a variety of people connected to Emily's case. Her mom, Lori, her brother, Ben, her friend, Nicole, and her ex, Brandon. The interviews you heard were all recorded just months after Brandon reported her missing, so 4 years ago. Since then, well, until recently, there has been very little activity in this case. From the outside looking in, it'd be reasonable to think the investigation was growing cold. But just a few weeks ago, something happened, and it will hit pretty close to home for listeners of this series. The Hamilton police staged themselves outside of a home Emily was connected to and began a multi-day search of the property.
Okay, so I can tell you we received some information that has led us to this address in relation to the Emily Bailey disappearance. So we're here to search for Emily Bailey and any evidence in relation to her disappearance.
So what was the evidence and when was it submitted?
So it's newer evidence, and I'm not prepared to say exactly what that evidence is, what that information is.
And can you tell us anything about the owners of the residence here? Or?
I'm not prepared to speak about that right now. I can just tell you that we'll be here for a couple days or a few days.
In that clip you just heard, the Hamilton police declined to reveal details about who owned the property, aside from simply confirming it was a location connected to Emily in some way. Well, we now know much more about that property. In fact, you met one of its residents and have already heard about Emily's time there. Hamilton police were searching the residence of Nicole Margerison, the guest in episode 3 of this series. As a reminder for you, Nicole's boyfriend Dean is the brother of Emily's boyfriend Jeff. And during our talk, Nicole told us some disturbing stuff that happened around that home just after Emily went missing.
He hurt his hand somehow. And I'm like, why does your hand hurt? He's like, I cut it. I think it's infected. So I checked his hand, and he had like this cut on his hand. Weird. He said it was from sharpening the chainsaws. And his entire arm was white. And you could see the red in his veins. So I knew the infection had spread. And I'm like, you need to go to a hospital. You need to go now and get this checked and whatever. And I had actually contacted the detectives and told them. And that was when I kind of went, something ain't right about this.
Okay, because this would have been days after she disappeared. He has a large...
This was on like the 3rd or the 4th.
Wow. Okay.
That's all I know.
Now, if Jeff having a mysteriously cut hand in the days after Emily's disappearance wasn't bad enough, this is the guy who, according to our guest Brandon, Emily was pregnant from and in the process of breaking up with at the time she went missing.
So I had called her, and she's like, Brandon, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I took a pregnancy test, and it's positive.
Whoa. And when was this? Sorry?
It was on November 24th. She sent me a picture of a pregnancy test.
So in the context of all of this, the search warrant execution on Nicole's house is a bit of a bombshell. It makes all the stuff Nicole said in episode 3 of this series even more delicate. And I should spend a moment on what Nicole said in part 3 and how delicate it may be. Anyone following this story on social media may already know this, but Nicole spoke out about her appearance on this show and cautioned people not to read into what she said, as according to her, roughly 45 minutes of her interview was edited out to meet some kind of time requirements. I can say that is objectively false. The Canadian Gothic has no time requirements, and the truth is that only about 2 minutes of the interview were removed, and that 2 minutes was made up of moments of awkward silence, some ums, some ahs, and a couple times Nicole or I misspoke. In the interest of transparency, I've released the full interview with Nicole, with video, on the Canadian Gothic's YouTube channel. But I don't think you need to race to watch it, as it's basically the same thing you heard in part 3 of this series. There's just some extra ums, ahs, and silence. As I said, the fact of the matter is Nicole was dishonest about that interview, intentionally or not. Anyway, all that said, tonight, in this episode of the Canadian Gothic, we're going to catch up on Emily's story by welcoming back her brother Ben. In this discussion, Ben is going to share his reactions too and tell us everything he knows about the recent developments in the search for his sister, Emily Bailey.
Meanwhile, just east of downtown Hamilton, a search warrant was executed yesterday as police continued to look for Emily Bailey. The mother of two has been missing for more than 4 years.
One of the people who lives in the home says she knew Emily for years, but tells CHCH News she had nothing to do with Bailey's disappearance, and says Emily's boyfriend, Jeff Johnson, who police say was the last one to see her before she disappeared, isn't involved either.
I deny that I don't even feel, I've never felt that she's even gone. They have nothing to do with it.
So Ben, let's start with a quick update about you and your life. Like, we last spoke to you 4 years ago. You were last on this show. I think it was June of 2022 when we last spoke. What's been going on in your life since then? Give us a personal update before we get into the developments in this case.
Yeah, 4 years ago, I was working in youth mental health. In 2023, I started a social service work diploma. I finished it in 2025. And now I'm on my summer break for my second program in recreation therapy. I work with like adults and seniors in mental health, and I also work in a like long-term care with seniors primarily living with dementia.
Wow. Okay, that's a heavy work, I only imagine. You're still in Hamilton?
Yep, still in Hamilton.
You say you're on your summer break, but it seems like there's very little break happening. I can only imagine, because it seems to me as an outsider that out of nowhere, Emily's case, it seems for whatever reason within the last several weeks, everything just blew up. In the early days, a lot was happening. People were coming forward and talking, a lot of suspicion towards Jeff Johnson. There was a search, I believe, of his home. Then just nothing until now. So why don't you kind of talk us through 2022 until present in Emily's case?
Yeah, so you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It seemed like in the early days of her investigation, there was some action with like the warrants given to search Jeff's house. I can't remember the exact amount of interviews, but I know that they've interviewed a bunch of different people. And yeah, obviously, like 2 months after she was reported missing, her case was turned over to homicide. And I would say probably since like 2023 till now, we haven't really heard much. There was that $20,000 reward that was posted with any information, and since then it's kind of just been my family and I trying to bring our own personal awareness, trying to figure stuff out on our own and kind of get answers. I personally think that the police have kind of been stuck with leads until recently they received a tip of some kind. We don't, like, our family doesn't even know what that tip is, and that led them to the new search warrant.
Meanwhile, just east of downtown Hamilton, a search warrant was executed yesterday as police continued to look for Emily Bailey. The mother of two has been missing for more than 4 years. Authorities conducting the search on a home on Stinson Street. This is near Wentworth in Maine. Officers have not commented on what they are looking for, but say you can expect to see a heavy police presence here for several days. Police believe foul play may be involved. A $20,000 reward is being offered for any information related to her disappearance.
And up until now, like as time was stretching on from 2022-ish until here we are in 2026, was there moments during that where you were losing faith that anything was ever going to come of this? Because that's a long time to go without an arrest or any significant new update.
I feel like when you are experiencing something like this, you definitely start to lose hope. I was reading that most missing person cases are resolved after a year, and I can't remember what the exact statistic was, but there's like a very small percentage of cases that don't get solved after a year, and after like 4 years, I think this is now classified as a cold case, and I think because of that, like I have definitely lost some hope of they'll ever find anything. I think at this point, like I do believe that she's no longer here, which is an unfortunate belief, but I think that we also have to kind of sit with that reality.
So as you're dealing with this, loss of hope that anything would ever happen, you then find out that things have just all of a sudden heated up again, perhaps as hot as they've ever been, with this announcement that there were warrants and a significant search of a property. So before we get into, what was searched and what you know about all this, let me ask though, how did you find out that things were happening over the past few weeks? Were you aware of this before, it hit the news?
Yeah, so um out of courtesy, the police did contact my mom, and just to say that, or they contacted her the night before the search and just said, we are going to call you in the morning, and there was something, but they obviously couldn't say. And then they had called her, I'm assuming either like right before they gave the search warrant or as they were given the search, and just said that there is a search that is about to be done. And so we did find out before the news broke about it. And so when I did wake up that morning, I saw the group chat that my family has, and I saw that was being given, and then I continued onto social media and saw that there was the warrant and saw the location of the house.
We received some information that has led us to this address in relation to the Emily Bailey disappearance. So we're here to search for Emily Bailey and any evidence in relation to her disappearance.
And can you tell us anything about the owners of the residence here? Or?
I'm not prepared to speak about that right now. I can just tell you that we'll be here for a couple days or a few days.
Is there any information that Emily maybe lived here or stayed at this house? Or
yes, there's some information that she would have frequented here in the past, yes.
Did Jeffrey Johnson ever live in this home or anyone related to him? Or
again, I'm not prepared to go into the details of that right now.
Are you saying that that during the investigation, the course of the investigation, the initial investigation, that you knew that she frequented this house but didn't search it? Is that correct?
Correct. This house has not been searched as part of the investigation.
Is there any reason why a house that she was known to have frequented wouldn't have been searched?
Again, well, with the information that we got, it allowed us to get judicial authorization to search it.
And what's involved in that? Authorization?
Again, collecting information and providing reasonable grounds to believe that the items we are looking for are in there.
Do you know who lived in the house at the time, or is it the same people that lived here? Do they live here now? Did they live here then?
Yeah,
or?
it's the same people.
Did you know this house? Like when you saw the location of the house, or you knew this place, I assume?
So I actually didn't, but in my family group chat, it was either one of my siblings or my sister-in-law had said that they believe that it was Emily's boyfriend's brother's house, and that turned out to be true.
Yeah, and that people who've listened to my original series would know all about him, because that is Dean Johnson, and it was his. I don't know if they're married or common law or what, but I believe it was his girlfriend Nikki who appeared on the show and gave a lot of, at the time, new information about, Emily's last known movements and such. But in that interview with Nikki, I did feel like she was kind of putting some suspicion on Dean, who she described as her boyfriend. So that it kind of surprised me. But at this point now, it seems like the search is directed or the investigation in some capacity is directed towards either him or her or their property.
Good evening. Hamilton police have wrapped up their search of a duplex home in the lower city that they believe may hide evidence related to Emily Bailey's disappearance and police's belief she was met with foul play.
One of the people who lives in the home says she knew Emily for years, but tells CHCH News she had nothing to do with Bailey's disappearance, and says Emily's boyfriend, Jeff Johnson, who police say was the last one to see her before she disappeared, isn't involved either.
I deny that I don't even feel, I've never felt that she's even gone. They have nothing to do with it.
You don't think her boyfriend Jeff or your boyfriend Dean had anything to do with it?
Nothing at all. It doesn't make sense how it would.
Margerison recalls the last time she saw Bailey on New Year's Eve at this home on Stinson.
When she left here New Year's, it was like the best New Year she was going to have in years. They were going home, they were going to hang out, they were going to party together, and that was it. They might have been going to a party later, but that was it. They left here super happy.
Police say Bailey was last seen the very next day, January 1st, 2022, by Jeff Johnson. Officers have long said they believe the 23-year-old mother of two met with foul play. Today, nearly 4.5 years after the disappearance, detectives wrapped up an extensive 3-day search of Dean and Nicole's rental unit that they say was predicated on a new tip.
When you heard the news that this place was being searched, what was your first reaction?
Got a lot of hope that this would be something. Just the idea that just the knowledge that there was a tip that came in, I got very hopeful that it would lead to something. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, that there is a $20,000 reward out there, and so I had high hopes that this would lead to something, because that is a lot of money. If holding something, I would hope that they would want to open up to get that money.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, I don't know how much the investigators share with you and the rest of your family, but are you given any information on the nature of the tip or what is said or anything at all related to what led to this warrant for the search of Dean and Nikki's property to happen?
We weren't given any information on what the tip was. The police are being very quiet about that, which I totally respect and I understand. But yeah, my family wasn't given any information.
Today, nearly 4.5 years after the disappearance, detectives wrapped up an extensive 3-day search of Dean and Nicole's rental unit that they say was predicated on a new tip.
So it's newer evidence, and I'm not prepared to say exactly what that evidence is, what that information is.
At this point, it seems like, just from me, I'm in Nova Scotia, so I'm not there to see this happen, but it seems like the search wasn't one of those, they pull up and walk through the house for an hour or two. It seems like they were stationed there for some time. I believe this search went on for quite a time. Do you know anything about even how long the search took place?
I believe it went on for 2 or 3 days.
Wow. And again, reading the news reports of this, there's no information to suggest that anything consequential was found. But then again, even if there was, I don't know if the Hamilton police would be, sharing that news with the media. But do you, as a member of Emily's family, have any reason to believe anything of note was recovered, or do you know anything about the search whatsoever? I don't know if you're shared any of that info either.
We weren't shared any information of what they found or didn't find. We were told that the search had concluded, and I don't know if they found anything that was gave any suspicion on anyone, but I do know that they could also have taken stuff that was tested. But after seeing the segment on CHCH News, and Nikki had said in the segment that there was nothing that was taken, she didn't notice that anything was taken from the home. So we honestly don't know if anything was taken, if anything was tested. I truly don't know.
Mhm. And when you mentioned the segment on CHCH, that's a local news outlet that did a piece that featured some comments from Nikki, where she just described, it doesn't look like anything was missing. They didn't dig up my floors or the floors or anything like that.
Have a look.
The storage lockers brought by police Wednesday and filled with objects from inside the home are now empty. The contents all brought back inside. Police declined to say if the search turned up anything to advance the investigation. Margerison says nothing appears to be missing from the home.
All of my stuff in my house is everywhere. They didn't dig up the floors, though. They didn't dig nothing. Not a thing. But the floors are all clean.
Police tell CHCH News ground-penetrating radar was not used to check below the basement floor, but also didn't volunteer if any other methods were employed.
So really, is what you know about the results of the search would be about the same as what anyone who read the couple news reports about it is, which is, I guess, in a way, it's kind of like surprising and frustrating, because I would just be dying to know. But at the same time, there's a reason that information's not shared with you. And it seems like you understand and respect that based on what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where does it go from here? Like, as you, a member of the family, are you all just like sitting by the phone waiting for the next shoe to drop, or like what is the feeling now amongst Emily's loved ones?
Yeah, I feel like at this point, all we can really do is just like wait, especially if there's not really any new information that is coming up. I do my best to kind of bring awareness to her case. I use social media. I try to make like TikToks bringing awareness to her case, and I honestly just do my best to keep her name out there and her memory alive, and try my best just to not let people forget who she was as a person and the case that is active.
For people who want to see what you're doing and follow you and any updates on the case, what's the best spot? I do know there's a Facebook group, so maybe you can mention that as well.
Yeah, so there is a Facebook group. It is called Missing Emily Bailey, Hamilton, Ontario. So we do kind of do our best to post in there. I also have a TikTok page called Bring Emily Home, and I use that platform to bring more awareness of her case and try to get her name out there. I think I also kind of just use it as a place to process my own feelings towards and share her story, my story, put her name out there.
Just a couple questions that can maybe give a quick update on some of the people discussed in the prior episodes on Emily's story is, if I recall correctly, during the original series of episodes that I did, Jeff Johnson was arrested and I believe incarcerated on charges unrelated to Emily's disappearance. Do you know, what came of the charges against him and what came of him? Because a lot of people in the early days, he was really like, suspect number one in the eyes of the public.
So the arrest that was made at the time of those podcasts was that he had some domestic violence charges against him from a relationship before Emily. He had, from my understanding, had been violent towards an ex-partner to the point where her life was in danger, from my understanding. And currently is in jail or is about to be released, or maybe has been released at this point. Charges unrelated to any violence. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that I had missed all that whenever that went through the news. You're in Hamilton, surrounded by this story and people that know Emily or are connected to the story in some way. What has that been like for you over the last several years? Like, you've talked about, making TikTok videos to both raise awareness and to process your grief. but you're still very much living in this story just due to the proximity to every bit of it. Like how has that felt for you and affected you over the years?
Yeah, it's definitely been hard because I feel like people do know her story and it is out there, and sometimes I will just be minding my own business in public and people will come up to me and ask me about my sister and her case.
Yeah.
And so it can be really hard seeing that, and also in the community Facebook pages that I'm a part of, especially now that like her case is kind of coming up again. People who don't have to constantly live with it are now making posts about like, oh, this is a new update and stuff. But as a family member constantly seeing that and having to be reminded is I don't have the ability to separate from that. I actually was thinking about it a couple hours ago of I don't get the privilege of just turning off my phone and then forgetting about this stranger that I've never met, because she was not a stranger to me. And yeah, so I think like being in the city that it happened and also just being closely tied to it definitely takes an impact on my mental health. I think especially the last few days, I've just been feeling a bit depressed and not great about everything that's gone on.
Yeah. But it seems like it went from 0 to 100, because if you are someone, even if you spend every day and you're Googling Emily Bailey's case and searching news reports, it's been silence for the most part. And then it just seems like over the last, it's probably been 5 days now. It's all I've seen. And I've been, even I, like as someone who covered this story on a podcast 5 years ago or 4 years ago, it's shocking. But as like one thing you did say to me tonight is that you don't believe there's a likelihood that she's going to be found. Okay, you believe it to be a homicide. How important is it for you as her loved one for there to be resolution for her, if it comes down to it, for her remains to be recovered? Like how important is that for you, and will that help, you and your family, process whatever happened?
Yeah, I think not having closure on what happened and with living with the constant unknowns of what happened has definitely taken an impact on the way that I grieve. And I think being able to label the grief as something and not just like something happened but we don't know, I feel important so that we can bring justice, if there is justice that needs to be brought, or we can just and being able to say like my sister's passed away or whatever, because right now you can't label that grief as anything other than an ambiguous loss. Because of that, there's no closure.
I want to thank you for joining Ben and I for this discussion surrounding the disappearance of Emily Bailey. As Ben said, anyone who would like to follow this story and learn more about Emily's case is invited to join the Missing Emily Bailey Facebook group. I've added a link to get you there in this episode's description. Additionally, anyone close to the story is welcome to contact me via thecanadiangothic.com/contact. I'd be very interested in speaking with you, especially so if you've had experiences with Jeff Johnson that you care to share on the record. So with all that said, I'm going to wrap up the episode, but before I do, I have a couple thanks. First, a big thanks to Ben for again sharing his story with me and with you, the listeners of the Canadian Gothic. And of course, a massive thanks goes out to each and every one of you listening to the show, as without your interest and your support, the Canadian Gothic would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed, Nikki, Maya, and Jennifer. We appreciate your support. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by telling like-minded friends about what we're doing here. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
Thank you for listening to Canadian Gothic.